This is big.
This is big.
The big show.
So big.
The Big Show. Kiss 92.
Good morning, Singapore, and welcome to the biggest and best breakfast show in the world. We are The Big Show live on Facebook as well as YouTube right now. And this morning, we are so honored to have with us Anthony Chen, the director of We Are All Strangers. Opening in cinemas 20th August.
Good morning.
Good morning, Anthony. I mean, yours is a name that's very, very familiar because people would remember you from your other movies like Ilo Ilo and Wet Season. And this is what you're calling the trilogy, the third, and it's not really a third part of a three-part movie, right? It is three movies of a collection of movies.
It's a loose trilogy, but I think there are a lot of elements that connect this trilogy together. You've got the same two actors.
Yeah.
Like Yo Yan Yan, Ko Jia Le. This was a boy that I discovered when he was 11 years old. He was in my first film, Ilo Ilo. On my second film, Wet Season, he was 17. He just turned 25.
Amazing.
So literally, it's called the Growing Up trilogy, and we've literally grew up with this actor.
So that's the connection. When you say growing up, you're growing up with the actors.
I don't think it's just, the actors. I think you can see it on so many levels, right? Even for myself, I made the first film, Ilo Ilo, in my 20s. I made Wet Season in my 30s. I made this new film in my 40s. So literally, there's so much of the growing up, my own sort of emotions, my own coming of age, my own maturity, from boy to man, from single to married, from now having a kid. Of 8.
Wow.
So basically, it's that. Plus, I think it's also the growing up of a country. Right. For those that have seen Ilo Ilo, it's set during 1997, during the financial crisis, and then Wet Season was set around 2010. And then this film, there's a scene where we celebrate SG60 last year, right?
Yep.
So it's very contemporary, 2025. So it's literally looking at 30 years of a country, you know? So I feel, it's growing up on many levels.
Okay. I want to take you back to 2013. Okay, so Ilo Ilo comes out in 2013 to great success, right? Obviously, you didn't start making the film in 2013. When did you start making the film, like putting it together and all that?
2010
Okay.
when I started writing the script,
Yes.
and then we shot it in 2012, which is why it's a 14-year collaboration with these actors.
Okay, the reason I ask you that is because this is a collection of 3 films. At the point in 2012 or in 2011 when you first started writing it, did you already envision in your mind, I'm going to do 3 films, all part of this collection? Or was it like I'm going to do 1 film, and then later on you were like, yeah, maybe I'll do another film, and a third film, and I'll put them all in this collection? What was the thought process at the time?
I really think it was very, very organic. I did make a joke on set on Ilo Ilo, because the boy, in it, Jia Le, he was so naughty and he was giving everyone such a difficult time. And my assistant director was joking like, ha ha ha, like, let's see, maybe you might film him all the way until he grows up. And I said, oh yeah, maybe. But, sure, that happened.
Yeah.
In fact, I didn't intend to cast both of them on my second film. The second film was about the relationship of a teacher and a student. M18 film.
Of course.
And I was looking for a 16-year-old Sec 4 student, right? So I did the same thing as Ilo Ilo, and Ilo Ilo, we saw 8,000 children. So on Wet Season, I was looking for a 16-year-old secondary school kid. I went to a lot of schools, we did a lot of workshops, saw hundreds of them, and I couldn't find the right one. And then literally while sort of scrolling Instagram,
You saw him.
I rediscovered Jia Le.
Wow, he didn't even come to mind while you were
Yeah,
casting.
because he was short and stubby, and chubby, stubby and chubby when he was young, right? I mean, I wouldn't see him as like the good-looking sort of Sec 4 student. And when we, like me and my casting director, we were like, oh, this boy, and then we were like, that's our actor.
Okay.
And then we brought him in. and we did workshops with like the rest of the group, about 30 of them. It took like 5 minutes, and we knew we were gonna cast him. And because I was gonna cast him, I didn't want to cast Yu Yin because they played
Right.
mother and son in the first
Oh.
film.
Right.
And now
And then
it's
in
teacher
the,
and
in the
student.
second film, there's quite an intimate sex scene.
Okay.
And we're thinking, oh my god, this feels very incestuous.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to cast it.
But
So
artistic, ma.
Yeah,
Right,
but
quite artistic.
So I
No,
went to
I don't think so.
I went to audition like all sorts of actors, you know, in Singapore and Malaysia, from theatre, from film, from TV, and I couldn't quite land the right person. And then I rang her and said, "Oh yeah, I know, Anthony. I've heard that you've been like meeting everyone, but you didn't call me." So I brought her in, and we did, we did some rehearsals, some workshopping. And it wasn't, the chemistry wasn't quite there yet. I think it was very awkward for all of us. But we decided to do it.
Yeah.
We took the plunge and we made the second film. And when I made that second film, when we wrapped the second film, I told myself, I've made 2 films with both of these actors.
Yeah.
And I've shot this boy from 11 to 17. I'm gonna shoot his coming of age, him becoming an adult. So I decided, instead of, going in circles again, looking for actors,
Yeah.
they're there, right? So that's how the third film was coined.
Okay.
It was literally written for them.
Fantastic.
Okay, for those of you who are watching us on YouTube and Facebook, we're going to be playing the trailer to We Are All Strangers right now. Meantime, here's Miles Smith with Gold on Kiss 92. Okay, let's watch the
Let's
trailer.
watch the trailer.
Here we go. This is We Are All Strangers.
李阳，你又完你后来做什么？要不要先跟我学炒面？
我有自己的事要做。今晚过来。
少啊，你忘了上次差点高考吧，买毛。哎呀，你们要帮我，不是帮我买多几只了？
你要不要搬过来住我家？
笑啊，去哪里？去厕所啊
I warned you about this boy. I thought you broken off.
？Stop calling him a boy. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Yes, babe. 你 serious 的吗？
Heavy softer. You might try to sleep, eh?
哎，这么还有多一个？
一个你的，一个我的，所以我不太会讲话。
这个 wedding 又不是我要的。
你的 wedding 也不是你father要的咯。
你可以忍一下吗？Mom's watching. 你不会锁门呐？
不懂我father在想什么，我找不找，找别人弟。大家好，我是 Steve，你也是可以叫我俊阳。
Steve 一看就知道你不是 Steve 咯，还要学人家做 life。
新加坡真的很有钱呢。
我都在这边30年了，可是我没有钱。
选择过来这里，then don't complain。
什么？嘴巴是我的，我要讲什么就讲什么啦。
走开啦！
你知道你的名字朱熹的，你妈咪她选太阳的阳，是希望你永远都有阳光。
Some people are terrible husbands, but at least they're better fathers.
I'm trying。
我们会忘记很多东西，但是有些人和事是永远都忘不了的。
It looks really, really good.
Yeah.
Well done,
Yeah.
well done. So just to get it clear, they were mother, son in the first one, then they were teacher, student, and now they're back to being? It's not mother, son, is it?
Stepmother and
Stepmother
stepson.
and stepson.
Oh,
Okay.
but I mean, they've got the chemistry already. So I mean, that's got to make things slightly easier, right?
I think so, and it wasn't that awkward on the second film.
Very
the second
good.
film, we had a big row, me and Diallo.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, if anything, it'll go to show what great actors they are.
Yeah, and the choice of actors was right. Tell us what inspired you to direct this movie and what it's about, just in a.
Okay, so this film is about a constructed family. We have 2 weddings, a baptism, and a funeral. It's literally the circle of life.
Right.
You've got like this father and son, the pair of father and son who both sort of like get married at the same time, and all of a sudden you've got two couples squeezed into a small 3-room HDB flat, and so it's a story of strangers becoming family.
Oh wow, okay. Speaking of which, the title "We Are All Strangers" is not the same title in Mandarin. In Mandarin, the direct translation is "We Are Not Strangers."
Yeah.
So what's the story
in Chinese
there?
it's 我们不是陌生人, which is we are not strangers.
Yeah.
And it was intentional. When I wrote the script, I came up with the English title. So it's always been We Are All Strangers. But when I was looking for the Chinese title, I didn't want to do a literal translation. And I think what is interesting is that there is a really interesting juxtaposition and irony between the two titles, because one brings you closer and one sort of like gives you distance. And I think it talks a lot about the relationships that we have right now. This is about a constructed family. It's about how you build family when you're not connected by blood. And in a way, I put out that question as well, right? Like how close are we, to our actual kin? A lot of so-called real families are probably not even as close as
than friends.
Yeah, than friends or the strangers that you'll be quite surprised. Sometimes you're so willing to share so much about yourself
with a stranger.
Like over a night of drinking or something like that. Then like the person that you have lived with for like 30 years of your life.
I've experienced that many times.
Well, your opportunity is a lot more because you drink every night, so that's different.
That's true. But talking about relationships and all that, I don't know if I caught you correctly when you were just before you went into this last question, but did you say in the second film you had a big row with Jiala? What was the row about?
So we had to do this very challenging scene, right? It was sort of a bed scene with Yan Yan and Jiala. And we were doing the rehearsals. We planned it such that because it was such a key scene in the film, we planned it such that we'd do the rehearsals in the morning, we'll break for lunch, and then we'll shoot that scene at the end, like after lunch. And then we were rehearsing, and I said, oh, it's not right. We've rehearsed so many times over the past months, it's still not right, and we have to shoot it today. And he literally, had a go at me. He was like, why didn't you do it yourself?
And he was, 17 at the time?
He snapped.
He was 17. He literally snapped, He was like, of all people you have to cast, why do you have to cast Yan Yan? I can do it with anyone but not her.
Wow. Okay, how did you react?
She's like my mother, and then I said, if you're not happy, you can get out of here.
And I suppose the reason why I wanted to ask this question is because this show is about relationships, it's about growing. And I want to know, because you've directed them through 3 films, how has your relationship with them grown over the years? Maybe we can
hold that thought. We'll go back on air and Tim will ask you that question once again.
Kiss92 traffic.
On the CTE towards the SLE at Seletar West Link exit, look out for a broken down vehicle. Same situation on the KPE towards the TPE after Buangkok East Drive, a vehicle having trouble there. Unfortunately, on the TPE towards the PIE, an accident was reported about 15 minutes ago. This is after Pasir Ris Drive 8, avoid lane 2. Same situation in the CTE tunnel after Orchard Road, avoid lane 3, another accident. Wherever you are, stay safe.
Kiss92 traffic update brought to you by BYD. Enjoy savings of up to $70,000 and $8,000 in owner benefits, plus a complimentary courtesy car and concierge servicing support. Terms apply.
Welcome back to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. Our guest for this morning is the director of We Are All Strangers, which opens in theaters on the 20th of August. Anthony Chen is with us. Tim has a question for you, Anthony, but before that, I just want to find out, like, what kind of a director are you? Are you a strict director?
Yeah.
Are you a director that's easy to get along with? You know, does everyone, just feel like, they can tell you anything and everything on the set?
I'm very uncompromising.
Oh, okay.
I'm known to be difficult.
You're like a James Cameron.
I'm known to be difficult because I've got very exacting standards, for myself, for my team, for my actors. But I have to say one thing, in order to get the kind of performances in my films, I always have to build a very, very strong level of trust with my actors. So I always know every single actor, right, on set. I always know a secret that they probably haven't told a lot of others.
Okay.
And that's that sort of that sort of depth of trust is how I do my work.
Oh, it's not like a threat, lah. It's like,
that's what I
you don't
was
do what I tell you. I'm going to tell everybody the secret you share with me.
So whenever I need them to hit, very, very vulnerable moments emotionally, sometimes I just whisper into their ears. I say, remember when you told me?
Because it's something that might break their heart or something.
Okay,
Right,
I
okay,
see.
got it.
Okay, well, I mean, great. It's a great segue from that question, because I want to ask you about the same way that your film is about relationships and all that. It's about growing up. You have grown up with these actors as well. I mean, you've cast them in 3 movies, right? How has your relationship with Tiala and Yan Yan grown over the years from movie to movie? And the way you direct them, has that kind of changed over the years as well?
I think it's very precious, this relationship. The film is about a constructed family, and that's what you see on screen. But we are the constructed family, off screen. We have literally worked together, 3 of us, for 14 years. Me and Yan Yan 20 years, because she was in one of my very early short films called Amma that actually won the prize in Cannes. And I think what is interesting is that we have built such a deep level of trust. Even with Tiala, the process has changed, over the years. He was a non-actor on the very, very first film in Ilo Ilo. I would play the scene once, he'll watch me, he'll imitate me, copy me, with his own sort of like rhythm and emotions and all that. And on the second film, because he was playing, he just finished secondary school, it was very close to him, he was just being himself, right? And then this one is where I start to see him becoming an actor. All of a sudden, something clocking. He was talking to me about motivation and subtext, and my character wouldn't say it like that and all that. All of a sudden, he was finding there was craft.
He was a grown up.
So it's quite fascinating, and it's quite interesting when you watch us work on set. Sometimes the crew, of course, there are crew that have worked with us for 14 years, and then there are those that are new to the family. Sometimes they're going like, oh, are they fighting? But we're just like every other family, There are good times, and we can be very chummy and sweet with one another, and then there are times that we are like just difficult, and we have all this like big, shout outs at one another, and we're sort of like screaming our heads off. But it's that level of truth and that level of honesty and trust that allows us to do the work that we do.
What is the reconciliation process like? After you guys have had a big shouting session, how do you make peace?
Hug it out. What'd you do?
I don't know.
Go out for makan.
Have a meal? Yeah, I was going to say.
You're right. It's always makan. It's always food. Yeah. I think in Singapore, the only thing that unites everyone is food, and food heals all wounds.
So yeah, let's go. On me. Okay, let's continue to talk to Anthony on The Big Show TV. It's 9:26.
Kiss 92 Time Check brought to you by BY.
So you did the first with Yan Yan and Tiala, right?
Yep.
In when you were in your 20s, and then your 30s, and then your 40s. Right now, it's a trilogy, Will it ever become 4 creative works? I mean, in your 50s, maybe you'll do something else with them, or without them, or not at all.
Keep it going.
What do you think? I mean, where do you feel this going?
It's a trilogy, right? So it needs to.
No, but really, who says it has? When did you decide it had to be a trilogy and only end at 3?
I think all good things, come in threes.
Oh, so this is the last we'll see of Anthony Chen, or at least the Growing Up series?
I think so.
Okay.
I wouldn't say we wouldn't work together again. I might work with them separately. We might do something else together. But I think it's nice closure. Yeah, and I feel like, a lot of times, closing something or ending something is also, it's also about new beginnings,
Yeah.
Yeah, in order to round up something, that's how I always feel like if you want to invite new things in, you need to sort of
Close off the old things.
Close off other things.
Yeah. So the next movie, would you ever go with a full English movie?
I've done that before, actually. I did my first English language film a couple of years ago with Cynthia Erivo. This was with the producers that did Call Me By Your Name and Nomadland, and we shot it in Greece and the UK.
Oh,
it was only shown at one cinema in Singapore,
right?
So it wasn't that well known, I think, here, but that film went to Sundance, and now thinking about it, I was thinking, we should have released that film later, because this was before Cynthia did Wicked.
Oh,
this was the film that she did
Okay,
before she did Wicked.
Can you re-release it?
which other Cynthia Erivo?
No,
are
I
you
didn't get.
thinking of?
I didn't get the last name.
Oh,
I didn't get the last name.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was very, very good in it. It's called Drift. She plays an African refugee that meets an American tour guide on the shores of a beautiful Greek island. If you have a chance, you can check out the trailer.
Which is the Greek island?
Looks, we made up the Greek island.
Oh, okay. I was like, thinking Santorini.
It's based on an American novel. It was originally set on Santorini.
Okay.
But
all
it's
right.
too expensive to shoot on
So you made up
Santorini.
I love it.
So basically with, we made up a Greek island based on different shorelines.
Right,
we combined
okay.
a few different
Yeah,
beaches
for
and
sure.
resorts, and
Yeah.
we create our own island.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
wow,
fantastic.
Okay.
Well, I mean, despite the fact that it is only being released on the 20th of this month, I mean, it had its main, we're talking, of course, about We Are Strangers. It had its world premiere at the 76th Berlin International Film Festival, right? It was nominated for the Golden Bear. In fact, from what I'm understanding, it is the only Singaporean film so far to compete for the Biennale's Golden Bear. Now, I asked you earlier on when you first came in, is this film gonna make it be submitted to all the different, up for different prizes? What other competitions have you guys sent it to for consideration?
It's played at a lot of festivals. It played in Germany, it played in Italy, it played in Sydney, in Melbourne, in Shanghai, in Hong Kong. It's being, we had a great premiere in Berlin, very, very emotional. People laughed, people cried, and it's been sold to over 30 countries. So it's going to be released not just in Singapore and Malaysia in October, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan, Korea, and then the US, the UK, France. I don't know why they've selected 23rd of December to release it in France.
Oh, wow, okay.
I don't see it as a Christmas film. But it's going to be widely released. But the first stop is Singapore, and it's probably the audience that I care a lot about. We have had all these wonderful responses. In the trailer you saw bits of snippets from the reviews, right? We had some stellar reviews from the international media, but I feel like only Singaporeans would get the nuance, the layers, the complexity, and all the detail in the film.
Yeah.
We have a lot of foreigners that go like, I love the film, I'm so moved. I learned so much about Singapore. I said, oh, what have you learned?
But this is how every day, like you were saying, it's a constructed family. It's a very blended family. You've got the stepmother and the father that move in with the son and the daughter-in-law, and they all live in a 3-room flat. I mean, that sounds like just about everybody. You know, because our families stay together for such a long time before actually moving out, right? Even after marriage.
And I would say this film, we shot in so many locations, which is why it's been very challenging. We shot in like 50 over locations, but we literally go from a HDB flat to a kopitiam to the infinity pool at Marina Bay Sands,
Right.
To the army camp. So I think this film, it's, like lots of it, the spaces, the characters, you connect really deeply with, if you're either Singaporean or you live here for long enough. So please see it on the big screen.
It's like an STB ad.
Yeah.
You've got MBS, you've got the HDBs.
But
you've got the
it's
coffee
still
shop.
it's the opposite of like Crazy Rich Asians.
Of course,
You know,
it's
when
the
the
real.
world saw Singapore,
Yeah.
they're like, whoa. They saw the rich side of Singapore.
Yeah.
And then now when they watch this,
It's the real
the
side.
other side.
Yeah, it's the real side.
I mean, it's real, but then again,
Just the flip side.
I mean, no, but it's like 70-80% of how Singaporeans live are all in HDB flats. So people really get to see our HDB flats are probably the best public housing in the entire world. I mean, if you
Right.
compare it to every other country.
But not the HDB flats that's featured in this movie.
But you know what
You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
yeah.
It's like we all stay in flats, but
Yeah.
they're 5-room flats, they're
Of course.
maisonettes. I mean,
Yeah,
it looks
yeah.
a little bit nicer, not so crammed. So, but I mean, it's still really good. My next question for you, Anthony, is: are you an artsy? Do you consider yourself an artsy director? Because over the years, I think the other director who had quite a number of accolades and awards was Eric Koo. Are you that kind of a director?
I don't like to sort of separate sort of like films, in terms of like this is an art house film, this is a commercial film. I feel like there are only good films and bad films.
Yeah.
I would say, I like to think that I'm a filmmaker that makes work that has a lot of accessible emotions. And I would say that this film is very accessible. In fact, it's quite interesting that I've a lot of like diehard cinephile fans, like around the world, and they were quite shocked when they watched this film. They were like, "Oh, it's very mainstream."
Okay. Well,
because what is interesting, this is a trilogy,
Yes.
right? In Ilo Ilo, there was no music score in the film. There's no music in the film.
Oh, wow.
There's 1 or 2 background music tracks,
Intentionally?
right? I hired a composer for that film, but when we finished cutting the film, it was a British composer that I hired, and he said, I don't usually tell directors this, but Anthony, the emotions in this film is so rich.
You don't need the music.
I don't think you need music, and I don't know where to put the music.
That's unusual because music makes a lot of the moments as well for a lot of movies.
And then my second film, Wet Season, it was intentional that there wasn't any music because the film is set during the monsoon season in Singapore, so 90% of the film was set in rain.
Oh,
so
right.
the soundtrack of the film was like rain, all sorts of rain. It
like white
literally
noise.
was, it almost felt like a symphony, and I was working with a sound designer on using rain to create, like what you feel like musical score. But on this new film, we've got so much music, and I think people got a little bit like, is this an Anthony Chen film? Because there's a Hokkien song in it, there's BTS in it, there's Coldplay in it, and
no wonder people think it's a mainstream movie. Look at your soundtrack.
And then the end credit song, it's a wonderful, very well-known classic 1970s song that Charlie Lim actually covered for me. Very, very moving song. The
70s song he will know.
Yes, I will know the 70s.
Yeah,
What
but
was
I don't want
your
to
70s
name the song.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I think
okay.
audiences
Surprised.
should discover the song.
Okay.
Yeah, but the OST is out already on streaming platforms, so discover the film, go listen to the music. I think it's got very good music in this film.
I'm going to check it out now.
We are all strangers.
Okay, coming up, I want to ask you something about your opinion about Singaporean audiences, okay, and the film industry in Singapore.
Okay, we're going to traffic.
We're going to come up one last time.
The Airbus A320 was carrying 137 passengers and 8 crew. India's government ordered a second drug test after the pilot's initial screening returned a non-negative result. Sources say the confirmatory test was also positive. India's Aircraft Accidents Investigation Bureau is investigating the incident. Air India has not commented on the reported test result.
Those were your news headlines from the Straits Times. Read more at straitstimes.com.
Come on! I am proud to introduce
Kiss 92. Kiss 92 traffic.
On the PIE towards Tuas, a broken down vehicle after Paya Lebar Road, and on the TPE towards the PIE, a broken down vehicle as well, this time after the exit to PIE Tuas. On the PIE after Topayo's exit 16A, please avoid lane 2 because of an accident. And finally on the CTE towards the SLE, a vehicle having trouble at the exit to Seletar West Link. Wherever you are this morning, please stay safe.
Kiss 92 traffic update brought to you by BYD. Enjoy savings of up to $70,000 and $8,000 in owner benefits, plus a complimentary courtesy car and concierge servicing support. Terms apply.
Good morning, Singapore. We are with director extraordinaire Anthony Chen, the director of We Are All Strangers. Don't miss it. It debuts in theaters on the 20th of August.
All right, so Anthony, you've been a filmmaker for how many years now? Coming to how many years already?
I don't know.
You're super lao jiao already, right? So how many
20
years?
or more.
Okay, so you have seen not just the film industry in Singapore, but also audiences over the years. Do you feel that Singaporeans, do you think that they still take local films for granted? Because for a while, and I think most people agree, years ago, it almost felt like in order for local Singaporeans to take Singaporean films seriously, these films had to do well overseas first. Then they see the awards, and then after, other people find it good, then maybe we come and support, and then we give it a chance, right? But now it's 2026. Do you still think in order to make it in your own country, you need to make it somewhere else first?
But it's always been the case, right?
It has.
Still, do you still feel it?
I think so. I don't know why. I feel like, it's part of the Singaporean DNA, right? To slag off yourself. Somehow we're sort of embarrassed to sort of be proud of our own creatives, our own work. I think it's a Singaporean thing. And I feel like we don't take praise easily as well. It's quite interesting, right?
It's like imposter syndrome almost.
You when you're overseas, you walk into a room and someone tells you, let's say, like someone from Europe or wherever, and then say, oh, you look so good today. And then the first thing, like people would say is, oh, thank you so much. Oh, right? You take the compliment. But Singaporeans will go like,
oh, no.
Really? No la. Yeah, we are so paiseh, right? We're so embarrassed to even be proud of ourselves. And I don't know, I'm not sure if it is imposter syndrome. I almost feel like, are we still living in the shadow of, the colonizers,
right?
know?
Because the Brits were like that. They were very
proper.
So maybe
like we're not good enough. After so many years, right? After 60 years, right? We still can't say that we're good. Like the way we are. Like we always have to kowtow to.
We need the validation from other people.
The validation from the white men, or from
I think
our colonial masters.
Yes.
Right.
So
I'm very American. I'm less Brit.
Well, the reason I brought that up is because I seriously was hoping things had changed over the years, right? I mean, give you just an example. The reason why I even brought up that question was because Army Days, another Singaporean film, right? When I was studying overseas, when I was studying overseas in Melbourne, right, that show made it to Australian TV. And I had a lot of Singaporean friends who finally watched it and went, oh yeah, it's actually pretty decent. And I said, you didn't watch it in Singapore? No, I don't watch it in Singapore. I'm like, and that kind of struck a nerve with me. It's like, you need to see your own locals work overseas before you give
validate it.
Yeah, before you give it some value, before you think, oh, it's worth giving a chance to, then when it was actually opening in your own country.
Yeah, which is why I think, like Ilo Ilo wouldn't have, the success that it had if it didn't win all those accolades. Like people were really curious because it won like 40 awards, everywhere, and people are like, what is this small little Singapore film that's making waves overseas? But I would say this thing, right? Like, on this film, Singapore is where we are launching the film in terms of theatrically, in cinemas. I think we've got 20, 30 over distributors worldwide. They're all looking at whether it's going to do well in Singapore. There would be distributors that love the film, and they go like, we love this film so much, I laughed so much, I cried so much, and when distributors cry, we buy. But at the same time,
the numbers,
your actors are unknown in our country. It's not like Michelle Yeoh or Zhang Ziyi and all that. So in order for them to have something to push the film, like the only thing that they can put in is like, oh, it did really well in Singapore. It broke how much, it was the highest in Singapore. And which is why I feel like, the whole idea of a national cinema, the whole idea of Singapore cinema isn't just, falling on the shoulders of like a few filmmakers, I feel, or like the film industry or the community. I really think if we want to be like the Koreans, if we want to have our footprint, if we want to take our cultural product worldwide, we need to support our own content. And I would say this, we're too small. If we don't tell our own stories, no one is going to do that for us.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there will be the Crazy Rich Asians version of the Singapore story, right? Which has done really, really well, of course, but I'm not sure if Hollywood wants to make a film about families living in a HDB flat.
Yeah.
And I really think if we don't, like put it on ourselves to do that, there wouldn't be any sort of like cinema left, like 50 years, 60 years later when you open that vault, right? And then you realize that, oh, actually, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Well,
you know what? And on that note, because of what Anthony said, let's all go watch the movie when it premieres next week on the 20th, which is Thursday.
Next Thursday.
It opens in cinemas across the island. So go book your tickets and, support local.
And use your SG Culture Pass.
That's right. Use your SG Culture Pass. We all have it.
And
we have $100 sitting in our Sing Pass. If you access it, we can use it to book tickets.
You can watch it a few times.
You can watch it a few times.
Absolutely. And I want to put out the invitation. Okay, Anthony, please come back on the big show anytime, because remember, we are not strangers.
See what he did there?
I feel like we've got so much more to chat about, but then we've been chatting for 45 minutes already.
Yeah.
We need to get you back on the show.
Great.
All right. Thank you so much, Anthony, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
This is brand new. Here's a tune that's fresh this week on Kiss 92.